Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to Carmen Sandiego Episode 3. And, oh goodness. Oh, knew that was coming. I apologize. So yeah, we finished off the intro story, learned about Carmen's past at Vile, and in this episode, I assume we're going to get started with the main stuff. We got a little hint of that in the first two episodes with Inspector and having Graham come in and everything. But I definitely think there's a lot more to tell with this. We're definitely going to get more into Vile and how they're reacting to all of this, what they're going to do. I especially want to see how the coach goes about things, considering she was kind of like this mother figure to Carmen. Now, one thing I'm wondering if they're going to mention or not is, are they going to mention how long it has been since Carmen escaped Vile? Because when Carmen escaped Vile, her hair length was probably not much longer than mine, probably around the same length as my hair, like going down to like right above the shoulders, basically. Obviously, just better looking than my hair, but still. And currently, her hair is like almost down to her butt, basically. Maybe even down to her butt. I don't know exactly. It's pretty freaking long. And even growing fast, it would still take quite a long time for hair to go like from here all the way down there. Probably like at least a couple years, I would think. And I mean, Graham does look legitimately older himself, so I would have to think it's been a couple years that she's been at this, stealing from Vile and everything for a good long amount of time. So it's really interesting, and if they go into that will add a whole new dynamic to the show. But yeah, as I've kind of talked about with the last two episodes, this series so far has been a lot better than it honestly had any right to be. When I was going into this, I did have hopes that it would be great, but I didn't have a lot of really big expectations for it. Because, let's be honest, this is a remake of a children's educational program that also spawned games and whatnot. But the original Carmen Sandiego was meant as an educational tool. It was meant to teach kids about all of these different locations, the histories behind them, the cultures and whatnot, and it was great. Like I had said, I grew up playing those games. I grew up watching the original series. It was my childhood, and it did help me gain a legitimate interest in history and culture. But when you're trying to do a modern remake of something like that, I just feel like it usually couldn't work unless you change it drastically. And I feel like they did. Now, I'm not saying that the original didn't have story or characters at all, in the same way that modern cartoons do. Because, I mean, multiple characters from the show we know were in the original. But I think in the original, they were definitely a lot more downplayed, and it was more to try and progress the educational aspect of things. In this, yes, there's some educational aspects. They do clearly they have told you about like different places and stuff about those places and whatnot. But that's just kind of more Carmen's fascination with all of this. And it's played as a character trait rather than a part of the of the structure of the series. This reboot focuses on the story and on the character of Carmen. So it's really cool and unique in that way. Not only is it rebooting Carmen Sandiego, but it's doing it in such a different way from the original, making it stand out. Now, obviously, it's not the first show to do that. She-Ra did that. with the original being so freaking hammy and ridiculous and stupid and honestly in a lot of ways just really, really messed up. Um, and it's like I think the original She-Ra series was actually made by women, but it still ended up being kind of misogynistic in a lot of ways. It was not a good series, and even outside of that kind of shit, it was just poorly made. But I mean, a lot of '80s cartoons weren't that great. Let's be honest. Um, Most of them actually kind of sucked. But either way, that's not even the point. The point is that the 2018 reboot of She-Ra took such a different route, took such a unique direction, that it ended up, like, kind of being its own thing. Yes, it used the same names and ideas and just general characters and stuff, but it's doing it in such a different way. And there's also been a lot of other reboots that have not done well. And for kind of the same reason. They've done it in a different way, but they took it in a direction that actually harmed each of their respective properties. Example, Teen Titans Go and Powerpuff Girls 2016. Teen Titans Go turned the characters into nothing but an immature comedy and completely lost the appeal of who the characters were in the first place. And Powerpuff Girls 2016 tried to modernize Powerpuff Girls by using modern memes and trends and whatnot, and it ended up being so cringy and unwatchable that people these days don't even really talk about it anymore. Not because it's not bad anymore, it still is very bad, but because it's like, it's just not, no one cares anymore. People have lost all interest. I mean, even with Teen Titans Go, at least people still like to hate on that. And there are those out there who actually think the movie was anything short or anything better than absolute trash, but, you know. But yeah, it's just like, there's some modern reboots which have taken things in the complete wrong direction, focusing on cringe comedy and completely ruining everything that made the characters great in the first place. But then there's the ones that actually take these properties and build upon it, build stories and characters that feel well thought out, fresh, and special. They're clearly the ones who put a lot of thought into it. And then there's kind of the ones that are kind of in the middle, like Voltron, which did very well at first, but then dive-bombed because it tried to do too much and had no idea what it was doing with its seasonal structure. So yeah. But either way, this series so far, with its first two episodes, has been one of those that is definitely on the high end. It's definitely more like She-Ra, which is a very obviously good thing, trying to focus more on the story and the characters and building a cohesive, smart narrative around it. So yeah, I'm really excited to see where this goes. Also, this is the third episode, so apparently the full intro sequence will be playing this time. Because apparently that little intro scene we saw in the first two episodes wasn't actually the intro, apparently. It was just something to show for the first two episodes. Because I guess probably because they wanted to show as much content as they could for that, to kind of kick off the series. But now that we're getting into the, regular episodes and stuff, they're going to be able to show the actual intro. So, the last we saw in current day, Carmen had defeated Graham, outsmarted him, placed her cloak and hat on him, and left the train not really in disguise per se, but just kind of in more casual clothing. And the inspector was stuck on the train with Graham while Carmen escaped. So Carmen doesn't have her hat and cloak at the moment. Now, she could easily get it back, I'm sure. Um, but we'll have to see where that goes. But yeah, I'm really curious to see what they do with her character, what they do with Player, the Inspector, and of course the members of Vile. I assume we're going to see Carmen's former teammates again plenty of times. I assume we're going to see the instructors of Vile again. And I do hope we get some kind of context as to how long it's been. Because again, her hair has grown out a lot. And that would probably take a couple years to go from, again, more, like, not even quite shoulder length to going down that far. Even for people who, again, whose hair grows pretty fast. And, like, my hair grows pretty fast. Like, I got my hair re-dyed only a couple weeks ago, and now you can see the dark parts coming in again. Hell, I mean, honestly, it only took, like, maybe a week or two to actually start showing the darker parts again. And it's like, that's insane. My hair's always going pretty fast, though. Either way, yeah, we're going to get on with this and see where it goes. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black, and then it fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts, and will contain spoilers to the episode. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. Okay, and we are back, and we will begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Okay, so, I figured out both where I recognize, his voice from, Zach's, that is, and where I don't. I was thinking it was from some other series or something, or whatnot. It wasn't, and in fact, I don't even know the voice actor. Nothing he's really done, I know. I mean, the only thing he's been in that I actually know of is the Arkham Knight video game, but he's just kind of additional voices in there. He's no one important. See, the thing is, I was confusing his Bostonian accent and, just, I guess, general voice, inflection with another character who's voiced by someone just completely different. And that's happened before, where multiple voice actors can sound actually pretty similar. I mean, heck, if you've ever seen Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, Hohenheim and Father's voice actors have a very similar sound, but there is a difference, but they're very similar. And it's kind of the same thing here. See, where I thought I recognized the voice from, I realize now, is that he sounds very much like, what is his name? Oh my gosh, I know who I'm thinking of, and I knew the name before. Oh, Scout from Team Fortress 2. And again, it's mostly the Bostonian accent, combined with just the specific sound of his voice that made me think of that. That is definitely what I was thinking of. But yeah, it's just, they're just two voices that sound very similar, but aren't by the same person, obviously. So yeah, either way, so this episode, we have Carmen and I guess her friends Ivy and Zach, who she's now working with, and they're going to try and stop this rice, not really poisoning. I mean, I guess it could be considered poisoning because it's poisoning the rice itself. We have a little bit learning about the culture of the land and stuff. And it kind of hammers it in a little bit, like, oh, they have all these festivals. It's the biggest rice provider in the world and stuff like that. It's like, okay, we get it. You still want to have some of the educational aspect in this. But it did still focus mostly on the story. So we see Carmen and her team chasing down the truck with the vile serum in it that would cause this fungus to grow, these spores, all over the rice, if released. And this is after, of course, they go to the lab and find no one and nothing there. So they're chasing down the truck, and Carmen gets into a fight with Tigress, who I was not... I didn't expect her to be the first one, well, outside of, the premiere and seeing Graham. I didn't expect her to be the first other one we'd see. I thought she'd come in a little later because she has been kind of this rival figure, even when they were younger, to Carmen. So it's interesting seeing her be the first one to come up. The stuff with Inspector Deveneaux and his partner and all, like with Graham escaping and all that's not like super important outside of the part with Graham getting reconditioned back at Vile. The episode focuses mostly on Carmen trying to stop Tigress and her plan and everything. We also see that there's these two other people following Carmen. We don't know who they are. They're not Vile. They're not Interpol. They're something else. And I'm really curious to know, like, what their deal is. So that's interesting to know. And as well, we see the ending. The ending kind of confused me a little. Because Tigress basically beats Carmen in their little fight there. She lights the trail of gunpowder or whatever that's leading to the box of spore fireworks, and she's like, basically, I don't remember the exact words she said, but it's basically what she's like. She says, "Okay, breathe." I'm losing control of my speech here. Basically, what she says is, "I win, you lose, sucks for you, toodles," and then just kind of fucks off. And, like, a split second later, Ivy and Zach just lift the box of the spore-filled fireworks and out of the way. I'm sorry, but that seems like a huge oversight. Not just a huge oversight, but that seems actually really sloppy. For a character who was trained to be just a master criminal by this huge worldwide organization, the fact that they were able to stop her plan so freaking easily, one, is ridiculous. Two, the fact that she just kind of assumed that she had won and fucked off like, again, just a split second before they stopped it. It's like, it seems like, how the hell did she graduate? How the hell did someone like that graduate from Vile Academy if she's that reckless? If she's that stupid? I don't know if that's just an oversight on the writing of the episode, or if that was done on purpose to show, like, the character having this overly confident, cocky side to her that made her just assume she had won, and completely, I guess, forgetting about Ivy and Zach somehow for a second. And even so, she couldn't have gotten far. She should have noticed, I would think, that it failed. I don't know how to handle this because, again, I don't know if that was done on purpose or not. But I will say that this episode was not as good as the first two. This episode, I don't know, the entire oversight with that, the entire kind of forced history, culture lesson on Indonesia and all, and just certain decisions as well with some of the other characters, like Professor Bellum. Is she incompetent? It's like she's on call with one of her agents on a very important mission, and she's looking at fucking cat videos. Not even listening, not even paying attention. That's just straight incompetence. And yet she's a leader of Vile? How does... So there are some questionable choices that were made with this episode. There are some questionable things they did with some of these characters. And don't get me wrong, I still enjoyed this. I thought it was good. Still, it was very fun. It was enjoyable. I liked the characters. I liked the action. It kept my interest the entire time. But some of those decisions felt a little off. Actually, not even just a little. They felt pretty off. And again, maybe it'll make more sense going forward, because maybe they were done on purpose. But I don't know, because that just seems a little... It almost feels like the entire thing with Professor Bellum being incompetent like that and watching the cat video was done just for laughs. Like, it was just done to get a laugh out of the viewers. And the thing with Tigress, it's like, it almost feels like it was done just to, like, wrap up the episode and give Carmen's team the victory. Because with Professor Bellum, there is no logical reason why a tenured leader of this organization of evil, this worldwide conglomerate, basically, there is no reason why or how she should be able to be a leader if she's that grossly incompetent. I mean, heck, we saw that earlier in the episode, too, when she was not even really paying attention to what the others were saying, when she was just looking at all her screens and stuff. And granted, she ended up finding where Carmen was and stuff, but still. And then the thing, again, with Tigress, it just seems like the only reason they would have done that was to wrap things up, but then it feels like extremely rushed. Like, they kind of, like... They kind of made her character look extremely stupid and also incompetent by just fucking on off and assuming that she won when clearly there are certain things that just irritate me. And it's like, this character, we have no reason to think that she lacks this much forethought. We've had no reason in the first two episodes to think that she's this incompetent or dumb. In fact, we have reason to believe that she's very talented at what she does, that she's skilled, that she's very dangerous. And yet this happens. It's like one of those... It almost feels like one of those situations where they make a really great animated movie, and then they try to make a series out of it, because, oh, the movie was so good, why not make a series out of it, because it'll be popular too, and the series ends up being shit. Because that happens most of the time, let's be honest. Most of the time, they make a really great movie, they try to make a series out of it. Disney does this to hell and back, and it ends up being shit. Because one, a lot of times the same voice actors won't be in it. It'll just be really jarring to hear different voices for the characters. Two, a lot of the times the writing is completely childish and amateur. And three, the animation is so different and off that it just feels really bad. Great examples of this would be some of their earlier stuff with, like, the Aladdin television series or the Hercules television series, both of which were absolutely terrible, yet come from two movies that were amazing. Two of my favorite Disney movies. And I believe there was a Little Mermaid one, too, that was really crappy. Now, I don't know how the Tangled and Big Hero 6 ones are that came out more recently, but... honestly, I've been avoiding them like the plague because I have no reason to believe they'd be anything but crap. And honestly, I haven't seen anything from the Big Hero 6 one, but I've seen screenshots from the Tangled one, and it looks like shit. It just does not look good. Plus, I do know from the Tangled Up, apparently Rapunzel's hair grows back. Because, you know, she has to have the long hair to be Rapunzel. I'm getting off topic. I go on tangents, you guys know this. The point is, that's kind of what this episode felt like in comparison to the first two episodes. The first two episodes of this felt really good, like this really well thought out pilot to this series that just was amazing. Great art and animation, relative to other stuff we've seen. Great voice acting, great story, great characters, great pacing. Everything felt right, nothing felt rushed or out of place. The characters were really entertaining. And then you have this episode where it's like all these little mistakes pile up. And it just feels like it almost feels like it was just done by different people altogether. Not just like written by a different person or whatnot, but the episode feels like it was just all together, like thought up by different people. Because again, even beyond the stuff I mentioned with Professor Bellum and Tigress, even that part with explaining Indonesia and everything felt really preachy and out of place. It felt like they were trying to force in that educational aspect. It didn't feel natural in its delivery. Let's put it that way. I really hope the rest of this series does better than this episode with that kind of stuff. And again, I'm not saying that this episode was even bad. I'm just saying that those little things that I do have issue with were issues. That they did have problems, and that they are legitimate problems. That they raise a lot of questions. And it's just, hopefully it's all figured out, hopefully it's all fixed. But yeah, not as good as the first two episodes, but, I mean, we are obviously continuing on because it was still good. Tell me in the comments below what you thought of this episode of Carmen Sandiego. And thank you all so much for tuning in. Sorry for going off on a tangent there for a little bit, but I was kind of illustrating a point. Either way, thank you all so much, and for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.
And though you've come through many obstacles,